You arrive at the office already tired from the commute. Before you can settle, an email marked urgent lights up your screen. It is curt, impatient, written in a tone that makes you feel small. You start drafting a careful reply, but before you finish, your manager calls you in. He criticizes the project you've worked on for weeks, focusing only on flaws, ignoring the effort. You try to explain your reasoning, but he cuts you off midway. The meeting moves on without you. You return to your desk, pulse racing, throat tight. The workday has barely begun, and yet you feel spent. This pattern is familiar. In the middle of a team meeting, you begin to share an idea, only to be interrupted by a louder voice. Your contribution dissolves under their volume. You sit back, unheard, watching as your suggestion is rephrased and credited elsewhere. Later at your desk, you hear colleagues laughing in the hallway. The words are indistinct, but you feel targeted. You replay their tones, imagining meanings that may or may not exist. By the afternoon, the irritation has grown legs. The day continues with small collisions. Someone ignores your request for information. Another sends you feedback in a sarcastic tone. A deadline shifts suddenly and the blame is placed on you. None of these moments is catastrophic, yet they pile one on top of another. A mountain of minor slights builds quietly on your back. You carry it into the evening, into the train ride home, into conversations with people who have nothing to do with the office. Later, at night, you glance at your phone again. Another message waits. Short, critical, indifferent to context. You scroll through it again and again, unable to let it rest. The words sit with you at dinner, shadow you as you brush your teeth, and wait at the edge of your bed when you try to sleep. The office is closed, but the criticism has not. It lingers because you carry it. And what is the outcome of this carrying? The project does not improve because you replay every remark. The colleague does not become more respectful because you curse them in silence. The manager does not suddenly value your work because you rehearsed arguments in your head. Anger promises control, but delivers fatigue. It does not fix what is broken. It only multiplies the cost. And this raises the real question. In these ordinary workplace pressures, what would Marcus Aurelius actually do? Not Marcus the distant emperor seated above armies, but Marcus the man surrounded by voices, disputes, and expectations. He too was interrupted. He too was criticized. He too bore the weight of others' demands. His meditations are not speeches to impress the world, but private notes written in the quiet hours, reminders that you have power over your mind, not outside events. So the inquiry is not abstract, it is immediate. How do you keep criticism from ruling your inner life? How do you walk through an office filled with sharp tones and careless words without surrendering your freedom? Marcus's answer is steady and simple. Divide the external event from the internal judgment. The event belongs to the world, the judgment belongs to you. Guard that boundary and your mind remains its own ruler. Surrender it and anger takes the throne. We become angry at work because we carry silent agreements with how we think the office should run. We expect colleagues to cooperate, managers to be patient, teams to share credit, and systems to function smoothly. These expectations are not wrong in themselves, but when they harden into demands, every deviation feels like an offense. The gap between how the workplace should be and how it is generates heat. Anger is the steam escaping from that pressure. A second cause is valuation. In professional life, we often prize externals, reputation, recognition, advancement, above inner character. When promotion or praise becomes the highest good, criticism or neglect feels like harm. Marcus Aurelius reverses the standard. Good and bad lie in the will, not in the applause of others. If virtue and competence are the only real good, then an unfair remark cannot injure you. It only displays the speaker's state. Misplaced valuation makes you fragile in the workplace. Right valuation makes you steady, even under review. Third, we protect an image of ourselves, competent, reliable, respected. A curt email from a supervisor or a public interruption in a meeting feels like a strike at this image. Yet the self that Stoicism defends is not the mask presented at work, but the ruling faculty that chooses how to respond. Marcus directs attention back to the part of us that decides: reason, intention, assent. The professional mask may be scratched, but the chooser remains intact when it refuses to agree that harm has been done. Fourth, anger at work follows a cognitive chain. An impression lands, someone dismisses your idea, a deadline shifts unfairly, the ruling mind either grants or withholds assent. Without training, assent is automatic: stimulus, story, surge. With training, the sequence pauses. Objective judgment, now. The event is recognized as event, the story is inspected. Most office anger comes not from the interruption or the email itself, but from the judgment we sign beneath it. Fifth, language inside the mind accelerates fire. We label delays disrespect, corrections humiliation, oversight betrayal. Words turn inconvenience into injury. Marcus counters with precise description. What happened? Exactly. Replace "I was undermined" with "my point was interrupted." Replace "I was attacked" with "feedback was given sharply." When exaggeration is removed, the pulse slows. Precise speech fosters precise thought, and precise thought moderates feeling. Sixth, habit cements reaction. Work culture often rewards quick replies, sharp retorts, and visible outrage. Repetition builds grooves. Soon, anger becomes the default track of office life. Stoic practice cuts new grooves by rehearsing pauses, measured questions, and rational acts. Each calm response widens the alternative path until it becomes easier than anger. In time, the colleague known for composure gains more influence than the colleague known for outbursts. Seventh, modern workplaces compress patience. Notifications stack, meetings overlap, metrics are tracked in real time. A shortened fuse masquerades as productivity. Yet Stoicism does not ask for a slower office. It asks for slower assent. Even in haste, you can buy a breath. One deliberate breath before replying to a message is a hand on the valve that releases pressure. Eighth, perspective is lost. The mind magnifies what is near and forgets the long view. A harsh comment in a review feels permanent, yet in 5 weeks it will be forgotten by others. Marcus stretches each office sting across time. Day 5, month 5, year 5, if it does not endure, let time shrink it now. Perspective cools the flame without denying the fact. Ninth, we blur event and judgment. A colleague interrupts in a meeting. That is the event. We declare "I was disrespected." That is the judgment. The two fuse and the fusion burns. Stoicism insists on separation. You control only the inner layer. Assent, aim, action. Guard that layer, and the workplace remains yours to navigate. Finally, anger grows when we neglect agency. We complain about office politics while forgetting our own choices. Marcus restores agency by asking, "What is within my power now?" Clarify expectations, set boundaries, revise the plan, or ignore the noise. Anger is often unused agency, shaking its bars. Together, the causes of workplace anger are internal. Misplaced values, automatic assent, careless language, rigid habit, compressed time, fused layers, and neglected agency. The remedy is also internal. Value virtue, slow assent, speak precisely, practice calmer defaults, widen perspective, separate event from judgment, and act where you can. Change the judgment, and the emotion changes with it. Mistake judgment for event, and you surrender control. This is Marcus's map for remaining steady in offices full of noise and blame. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that anger begins not in events, but in how we choose to see them. That idea becomes practical when we think about a toxic workplace. Offices can be full of sharp words, unfair demands, or careless managers. People shout, emails sting, deadlines shift without warning. The temptation is to fire back, to prove yourself in the heat of the moment. Marcus would do something else. His writings and meditations are not theories for classrooms, they are reminders for messy days when judgment feels clouded. First, he would treat insults like packages. When a manager mocks you in a meeting or sends a cutting email, that insult is the package. You can accept it, carry it all day, and let it rot inside you. Or you can leave it at the door. Marcus would choose the second option. In practice, this means hearing the words, recognizing them as noise, and refusing to replay them endlessly. Later, when emotions cool, he might speak privately and clarify boundaries. But in the moment, he would not invite poison into his mind. Second, he would delay. Toxic environments thrive on quick escalation. Someone shouts, and everyone else raises their voice. Marcus knew the body reacts first. The heart pounds, the jaw tightens, but the next step is yours. He would breathe, wait, and give reason a chance to enter. A pause of even a few seconds can prevent a spiral. Delay is not surrender. It is buying space to respond with strength instead of reacting with weakness. Third, he would avoid attaching labels too quickly. A last-minute deadline is just that, a deadline. Calling it impossible or unfair is already adding judgment. Marcus would describe it plainly. This happened. By stripping away exaggeration, he would keep his mind steady. The action here is simple but powerful. Write the fact down exactly as it is. Once it's named neutrally, solutions become easier to see. Fourth, he would look at the angry person differently. The colleague who gossips, the manager who shouts, they may be acting from fear, fatigue, or insecurity. Marcus would remind himself that their behavior reflects their struggle, not his value. His action would be to lower his tone, keep his words measured, and focus on what can be corrected. Like a doctor treating an illness, he would address the problem without adding hate. Fifth, he would stay in the observer's seat. Marcus often told himself, objective judgment now. Anger is like weather. You cannot stop clouds from forming, but you can decide whether to build your house under them. His action would be to step back mentally, notice the surge, and then choose. That might mean ending a toxic meeting calmly, asking for follow-up in writing, or excusing himself to regain composure. The key is to act as the ruler of his mind, not the prisoner of his pulse. This is not passivity. Marcus did not ignore problems. He set limits, spoke when needed, and accepted consequences with calm. What he removed was the poison of anger. In a toxic workplace, his way is both protection and strength. Decline the package, pause before reply, name events neutrally, respond like a physician, and keep the observer's seat. That is Stoicism in action. Simple, steady, and free. Marcus Aurelius did not write for applause. He wrote to steady himself against the pull of anger, fear, and despair. His notes remind us that the real battle is not outside but inside. Not against others, but against our own ascent to false impressions. His meditations are a handbook for the mind under pressure. When anger rises, Marcus does not offer slogans to repeat. He offers practices to live by. These principles remain as useful in a modern workplace or family as they were in the camps of Rome. Principle 1. Emotion has power only with your consent. Feelings arrive like visitors. They knock, sometimes loudly, but they cannot enter without permission. Anger feels compulsory, yet Marcus reminds himself, you are not compelled to be troubled. The chain begins with a thought. I was insulted, therefore I must be angry. But that thought is only a judgment, not a law. Events do not contain anger. We insert it. The practice is to notice irritation and say inwardly, this is only an appearance. I choose not to assent. Let the insult remain outside. Do not import it into the ruling faculty. To recognize this power is to reclaim freedom. Principle 2. Do not react. Respond with reason. A reaction is automatic. A response is chosen. Anger thrives on collapsing the space between stimulus and action. The Stoic discipline stretches that space. Marcus would ask, "What is this? What does it demand? What options lie before me?" Most offenses are trivial. Many can be ignored. Some require correction. A few need firm boundaries. But none require blind eruption. The practice is to pause. A breath, a silence, a measured delay. These open the door to reason. Freedom is born not in noise, but in that quiet moment of decision. Principle 3. Put events in time perspective. Anger inflates the near and blinds us to the far. A harsh remark feels permanent when it is seen too close. Marcus stretches events across time. Will this matter tomorrow, in 5 months, at the end of life? Almost nothing retains weight when measured against mortality. Life is short. Evenings are few. Why give them to insults that will not last the week? The practice is to remind yourself that time dissolves much of what now feels unbearable. With perspective, you choose peace over waste. Principle 4. Events are neutral, judgment makes them good or bad. This is the core of Stoicism. Events arrive bare, the mind supplies meaning. A colleague interrupts you, that is sound. You judge it as disrespect, and anger follows. A supervisor criticizes, that is information. You call it humiliation, and resentment takes root. Marcus warns against premature labeling. By delaying judgment, you prevent the mind from fastening itself to a mistaken story. The practice is restraint, fewer adjectives, more facts. A fact cannot wound you, only your label can. Principle 5. You are not your emotion, you are the observer. Marcus often reminded himself that the ruling faculty is distinct from the body. Anger is heat in the chest, tension in the throat, but you are not the heat, you are the one who sees it. From the observer's seat, you can let the feeling pass without obedience. Freedom is not absence of emotion, but mastery in its presence. The practice is to relocate identity, not storm, but sky. Not impulse, but reason. Watching yourself from above, you remain steady while waves crash below. Taken together, these principles form a discipline of mind. They teach that anger is not fate but permission, not necessity but choice. Events cannot force disturbance, only judgment can. By refusing assent, pausing to reflect, stretching time, withholding labels, and standing as observer, you live as Marcus trained himself to live. Calm amid pressure, steady amid insult, free amid confusion. This is Stoicism, not escape from life, but mastery within it. Having explored the principles that Marcus Aurelius used to steady himself, we can now draw lessons that apply directly to daily life. Principles without practice are like tools left on the bench, useful in theory, powerless in reality. These lessons show how Stoic thought moves from page to action, from meditation to conduct. They are not abstract encouragements, but practical habits, meant to be tested in the very moments when anger knocks and composure is most at risk. Lesson 1. Keep distance from insult. Decline mental garbage. Imagine the harsh sentence as a package. You are the doorman of your attention. Signing for every delivery crowds your rooms. Refusing what is unfit keeps the space clear. Declining is not contempt, it is hygiene. A toxic comment does not have to be hosted. Later, when calm, you can address the substance if it deserves attention, but without importing the smell of the delivery. Marcus would remind himself, if they cast filth at you, it need not soil your mind. The action is simple. Refuse entry. See the insult as waste left outside, not as furniture for your home. Lesson 2. Train the pause. Breathe, then reply. A single breath is a bridge from impulse to choice. Inhale to notice, exhale to decide. The body's first surge is automatic. The mind's next move is free. Marcus would instruct himself, objective judgment now. Use neutral language inside your head. A criticism was spoken. My chest feels tight. Naming without exaggeration interrupts the storm. From there, you can choose a small action aligned with your values. Lower your voice, slow your speech, or ask a clarifying question. This resets the room more effectively than a raised tone. Pausing is not delay for its own sake. It is reclaiming authorship of your next step. Lesson 3. Ask, will this matter over time? If the answer is yes, you will handle it better without heat. If the answer is no, you can release it now. This question prevents you from donating your life to trivia. Marcus often stretched events across the horizon of years. Consider how small these things are when viewed from above. By asking whether a slight will matter in 5 days, 5 months, or 5 years, you resize its importance. This protects energy for what endures: relationships, craft, and character. The practice is not to minimize every issue, but to rank them honestly. What endures deserves your strength. What dissolves deserves your silence. Lesson 4. Treat events as possibilities, not verdicts. Anger stamps events with instant labels: bad, unfair, intolerable. The Stoic suspends judgment and swaps the verdict for possibility. Instead of "this is bad," try "this could be useful." With family, the frame might be, "it's possible they are worried and expressing it badly." At work, the frame might be, "it's possible this criticism holds something I can refine." By shifting to possibility, you extract the core while discarding the shell. Concern is separated from clumsy expression, feedback from cruelty, fact from venom. Marcus wrote, "What stands in the way becomes the way." Treating events as possibilities transforms obstacles into training. Lesson 5. Practice the observer. Stay steady amid drama. When voices rise, step to the balcony of your mind. Imagine standing above the scene, watching as habits and fears play out through words. See people shaped by years of conditioning, often trying and failing to express care cleanly. From that height, you can pick a sentence that moves the dialogue forward or practice the discipline of silence that prevents harm. Leadership begins here, not in dominating others, but in ruling yourself. Marcus often told himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." The observer's seat is the throne of that power. Additional tools: preview, audit, review. Principles and lessons gain strength through repetition. Marcus wrote each day to remind himself, not because he forgot once, but because forgetting is constant. In the same way, you can use a daily loop: a morning preview, a midday audit, and an evening review. In the morning, visualize likely friction and pre-choose your response. At midday, ask, where did you waste energy and where did you conserve it? In the evening, note one success in composure and one miss. Then extract a lesson. This loop turns ideas into muscle. Over time, you no longer rehearse Stoicism, you live it. Taken together, these lessons form a path of practice. They do not promise a life without conflict, but they promise freedom within conflict. Keep distance from insult. Train the pause. Measure by time. Treat events as possibilities and practice the observer's seat. Anchor them with daily review, and you hold in your hands a discipline strong enough to face criticism, workplace tension, or family conflict. Marcus did not seek to control the world. He sought to control himself. By following his lessons, we can do the same. Workplaces are daily tests of patience and clarity. Marcus Aurelius never faced emails or long meetings, but he endured scrutiny, sudden orders, and constant criticism. His meditations show that the challenge is not the event itself, but the story we attach to it. In modern offices, this truth is crucial. We cannot control managers, colleagues, or shifting deadlines, but we can control our ascent. Take the sting of an accusatory email. The reflex is to strike back, but Marcus would remind himself that anger multiplies conflict. The wiser path is to cool the exchange, acknowledge the concern, separate fact from assumption, and propose a next step. This ends disputes quickly and prevents poison from spreading through the day. Over time, steadiness becomes reputation, and reputation becomes influence. People learn to rely on your composure. Meetings offer another trial. A colleague interrupts or dismisses your point. The event is words, the wound comes from judgment. Marcus practiced pausing before judgment, refusing to let impressions dictate truth. In practice, you can ask a clarifying question or restate calmly. Doing so avoids escalation, preserves dignity, and keeps focus on substance. Supervisors under pressure often discharge it downward. A harsh tone or unfair demand feels personal, but Stoicism separates the body's first surge from the mind's second move. Adrenaline is automatic. Reply is choice. You can answer slowly, ask for clarification, or request time. By refusing to mere rage, you keep agency. Marcus would remind himself, the fault is theirs, the response is mine. Workplaces also breed gossip and hidden hostility. Rumors spread, reputations suffer, and resentment grows. A Stoic does not carry such burdens. An unkind word is refused at the door. You choose whether to bring it inside. Declining delivery is hygiene, not weakness. If correction is required, state facts clearly and without venom. Precision disarms hostility, while retaliation feeds it. Over time, people see your presence as calming. Deadlines compress patience. Projects shift, tasks multiply, expectations clash with reality. Anger rises when urgency blinds perspective. Marcus dissolved urgency by stretching time. He asked, will this matter in 5 days, 5 months, 5 years? Most crises collapse under that lens. The practice is not to ignore duties, but to meet them without surrendering peace. Work may demand effort, but it cannot demand fury. Calm produces better results than haste poisoned by anger. To make these habits real requires repetition. Marcus wrote reminders daily because forgetting is easy. We can follow a similar cycle: morning intention, midday correction, evening review. Begin by preparing for likely criticism and choosing a measured reply. At noon, ask where you were hooked and how you unhooked. At night, note one success and one lapse. Then draft a better line for tomorrow. This loop turns Stoic thought into reflex. The office becomes training ground, not trap. Language is also discipline. Words shape thought, and thought shapes peace. Use neutral nouns and small verbs. A claim was made. I will clarify. Avoid sweeping labels like always, never, or you are. Describe behaviors, not identities. This lowers tension and keeps disputes solvable. Marcus warned against careless speech. For him, language was duty. Boundaries preserve strength. Work blurs limits with endless meetings and expanding tasks. Marcus would favor structure over anger, shorter sessions, clear agendas, and timely follow-ups. Boundaries are not rejection, but kindness. They save energy for what matters instead of wasting it on chaos. Compassion completes Stoic practice. Understanding a colleague's stress does not mean excusing abuse. You can refuse insult, set limits, and create distance when needed, all without poisoning yourself. Marcus reminded himself that wrongdoers act from ignorance. To see this frees you from hatred. Correction without vengeance is possible and more effective. Every workplace conflict is a chance to train. The accusatory email, the tense meeting, the unfair demand, none are traps, but exercises. At first, composure feels forced, but practice makes calm quicker than anger. The reward appears in your evenings, fewer replays, more rest. What Marcus wrote in his tent still applies today. Events cannot command you. Assent is yours to give or withhold. In that choice lies freedom. Anger at criticism, especially when it comes from family, often wears the mask of strength while quietly stealing your freedom. You feel a surge in your chest, a quick defense on your tongue, as if raising your voice will restore control. Yet in truth, the moment you explode, you hand control away. You become a mirror of someone else's judgment rather than the master of your own mind. Marcus Aurelius saw this danger clearly. In Meditations, he reminded himself again and again that events are external. Judgment is internal. Between the two lies the narrow gate of freedom. If you hold that gate, no insult can rule you. The practice begins by separating event from judgment. Your parent speaks harshly at dinner. That is an event. The thought, "they disrespected me," is a judgment. The thought, "I am failing," is also a judgment. Marcus warns that when we fuse the two, we mistake imagination for reality. The correction is to observe first, reason next, and speak last. Describing the event neutrally, words were spoken, gives your mind time to shrink the fire before it spreads. Another step is to delay. Anger loves urgency. It thrives on instant reaction. The body delivers a spike of adrenaline, but the next move is yours. Take one breath before you reply. The pause is not weakness, it is ownership. In that silence, you recover the observer's seat, the vantage point from which reason can select the right action. Marcus knew that storms pass. Building a house beneath them is folly. Perspective also matters. A single remark can feel unbearable if you lock it in the frame of the present moment, but if you stretch time, the moment shrinks. Ask yourself, will this matter in 5 days? 5 months? 5 years? Most remarks dissolve under that scale. The Stoic eye sees not only what is near, but what is lasting. By training your mind to step back, you reduce waste and preserve strength for what endures: your craft, your character, your conduct. Declining what does not belong to you is another safeguard. Marcus compared insults to packages of refuse left at your door. You do not have to carry them inside. If someone lays bitterness at your feet, you can decline delivery. This is not denial, it is hygiene. You may address the relationship later, but you refuse to import poison now. Practicing this simple refusal protects the inner climate that anger seeks to pollute. Compassion strengthens the discipline. Marcus reminded himself that wrongdoers act under impressions they believe are right. Parents criticize because they fear for you. Siblings lash out from insecurity. Colleagues snap from pressure. To see this does not excuse harm, but it explains why hatred is wasted fuel. Correct as a physician corrects. Firmly, specifically, without malice. By choosing compassion, you deprive anger of its sharpest weapon. By choosing compassion, you deprive anger of its sharpest weapon. These principles become habits only through daily exercise. Begin small. Take one breath before your next reply. State one event neutrally before attaching labels. Ask one clarifying question before defending yourself. Each small act strengthens the observer's seat and weakens the reflex of anger. Save your strength for what you can improve: your mind, your craft, your relationships lived with integrity. And when the practice feels mechanical, remember Marcus repeating to himself each morning and night. He did not write to impress others. He wrote to remind himself, because forgetting is so easy. The reminders are not decoration, they are tools for survival. Each breath, each pause, each refusal of judgment is a shield. With use, the shield grows lighter until it becomes instinct. If this reflection helps you, keep practicing with us. Subscribe to Sophoria for grounded Stoic training drawn from Marcus Aurelius' Meditations. In the comments, share a specific moment where family criticism pulled at your temper and name the tool you will use next time. The declined package, the pause and breath, the 5-year frame, or the observer's seat. Your example may be the reminder someone else needs tonight. Keep your mind your own.